Hi, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Thames Community Board meeting. I welcome particularly our staff that are online today. Special warm welcome to our board members sitting around the table. And for a delightful board meeting today. And also, it's signing week. If anybody's sure, so if you're going to do that, hello, signing or
Good morning.
good morning, right? So that's good morning signing from our councillor. You might like to stand up so people couldn't see you over there doing it.
Good morning.
That's good morning signing. All right. So we do acknowledge that it's signing this week, and I'd now like to ask Martin to do this board member. I'd like to do the Karakia, please. If those who wish to be outstanding, those who don't, remain seated.
Sure. Ina tohu o matua atua. O te rangi o te senua. Te haratakina I e mato I na take I puripuri I e tine pa. I raro ano I te aro o ranginui ke ranga o papakinuku e takotu ne. Tokamoai I tine. Uye, Taiki.
Ko te atua, ko ia nei te ariki o te rangi o te whenua.
Thank you, Councillor Gribble and Rodney for the Karakias. Thanks. The Karakias should be board members. Right. Everybody's here, so we don't have any apologies today. Correct. Okay. Move on to 1.3, which is the public forum. And our first speaker on the public forum is Mr. Hampton is the first speaker on the public forum. Thank you, Mr. Hampton. You're doing that cover on the very first answer. Yep. Thank you.
Morning, Chair, elected members and staff. Thank you for the opportunity to present this morning. Can I introduce Stephen Barrett and Jackie Taylor sitting over there? So you can ask questions that you will if you wish. So we are members of the Karakia River Trail Advocacy Group. And presentation, this is a presentation that we presented to Council as an annual plan submission on the Karakia River Trail. One of the things I said at the submission, Council, is that we appreciate the financial challenges the district is facing in the recovery from Cyclone Gabriel. So we will get straight to the point. Why would you consider this submission? Health and safety, road safety, ongoing near-miss incidents on the road between Booths Ave and the popular swing bridge called. This is an urgent issue the Karakia River Trail can address. Road safety. There are 40 plus residential properties between Booths Ave and the swing bridge swimming hole. Vehicle volumes and speed are reasonably high at times. No footpath, no school bus service, regular near misses, and this is basically a level of service issue for the affected community. This is one of the reasons why you should consider this submission. Here's some examples, and these shots were taken over what, maybe a couple of week period? Yeah, short period. So this happens regularly, all the time, where you see people cycling, walking the road, and vehicles, and there is no room to get off the road. Here's another one. You can see children walking on the road. And let's remember that the swing bridge swimming hole is the most popular swimming hole, including the Thames swimming pool in the district in summer. Kids cycle and walk to that hole from town on a regular basis. Well, I consider this submission number 2, Economic Development Recovery Project. The vision of the extended Karakia River Trail concept is to develop a nationally significant tourism attraction, a walk and cycle trail connecting Thames and the Karakia Rail Trail to the Dock Karakia Visitor Centre in the State Forest Park. Why would you fund this in 23-24 as part of the annual plan? Well, the health and safety road issue needs to be urgently addressed. And that should be funded under roading activity because it is completely on the road. It's a simple roading level of service issue. The River Trail project, a business case will identify the cost benefits of the trail and the extent to which it can support our ongoing economic recovery. It's a multi-year project. A confirmed plan needs to be ready for consultation and consideration of funding in 24, the LTP 24 to 34. So if you don't actually do this work now, you won't be able to consider it for the LTP. That's why it needs to happen now. This was the original concept, which has the cycle trail from the Hoops to the swimming hole here and then up to Rennie's Ford and back down. We recognise that this probably only services local needs, whereas a larger concept will attract national funding. And we believe that that product exists. The Karakia River Trail vision. So starting here, here's the Karakia Rail Trail coming into our town. Currently underutilised because there's 55 k's between Kiowa and Thames, and it's a long trail, so it's not well utilised. This trail here, however, has a number of features along the way. Starting from the Looms, there's the swimming hole, Maru Road going back this way, so you could loop back. The Karakia Christian Camp, more swimming holes. The Pakaraka Farm, the Dead Stitch Farm, which is a heritage tourism attraction. They have visited Dock Visit Centre, Hoffman Pools, and then you wind your way up through all of the campsites up to the Forest Education Centre and eventually the Penguins. So that's the vision of the larger trail. How do cycle trails add to local economies? This is direct from an evaluation of New Zealand Cycle Trail Network. Over a 12-month period, this was 2021, 2.19 million trips happened on that network of trails. 98.5 were domestic users. 27% of the New Zealand adult population has participated in a cycle tourism activity in the past year. 27% of the population. Cycle trail users brought an estimated direct economic contribution to regions of more than $950 million. From the same report, the ideal experience would commonly last half a day from Angus and Associates. This would be a half day up and back, but people could stay for longer at the many accommodation places that the Bell has. This ticks this box. So they're saying the ideal trail is one that lasts half a day to a day. That's what this is. It's perfect. Alignment with TCDC strategies. Of course, there's the road safety, local roading. The Thames spatial plan. This trail would potentially provide access linkages across the Karakia, the Maru, and the Totara Valley communities. The spatial plan proposes development in Totara Valley Road, which could link to Maramarahi, link to the cycle trail and connect those three communities. The TCB, Thames Community Board Visitor Organisation Plan 2016 aligns with the Karakia Valley initiatives. Karakia Environmental Biking Strategy. This trail is an identified project in that strategy. TCDC Economic Development Strategy alignment is a project that could have lasting impact, attract investment, funding in the district, create employment and training opportunities. The project is community-led. This project is community-led. It has a strong community behind it that wants to drive the project and contribute. Thames Destination Project. This is the local recovery response to Cyclone Gabrielle. and then there's the partnership leveraging. The valley is a product ready to be accessed. The existing infrastructure includes the dock, forest and visitor centre, walking and mountain bike trails, sleeping in God's Canyon experience. It's a commercial operation. You'll see some of that tonight. The dock model cottage events, the dock campgrounds and cooks and cottage, the Dev Situ historic farmstead and farmstay, multiple private accommodation providers throughout the valley, and there are 2 education camps in the valley, all existing. This trail will connect them all. So here's the features of the trail. It could be a cultural trail. It is a rail trail. This is the historic map of the New Zealand Kauri Company Railway, which existed all the way up the valley and all the way down to Thames and connecting with the coast. There's a photo of it. The trail will, I'll go back one. The trail will attempt to follow that as much as possible. A river trail, a community trail, linking those communities. An eco trail, Karakia farm. An information trail, dog visitor centre. An education trail, the Forest Park Education Camp. The Christian Camp, halfway up the trail. There's canyons. There's a Sleeping God Canyon there, which attracts a lot of visitors on its own at the moment. It's an amazing abseiling experience down canyon. A nature trail, a camping trail. There are multiple campgrounds throughout the Dock Valley. We think that all of this adds up to a world-class trail, and the trail would link all of those features. Proposed project pathway, council funding would be confirmed in the 23-24 annual plan. That will allow confidence to our group to form a charitable trust to add resource, liaise with the local community and provide a funding entity to seek external funders, both commercial and philanthropic. PCDC funding tranche 1. So we suggest our pitch for the annual plan is $100,000. That will be split into 2 tranches. The first tranche could be scoping and feasibility. If it's not feasible, at the end of that, we stop there. Tranche 2, the business case developed so that you can see funding. Inclusion in the TCDC long-term plan, potential inclusion in the Hauraki Rail Trail 10-year plan. Diane Drummond from the Hauraki Rail Trail has confirmed that would get serious consideration, and she even said it's a pity you're not ready to apply for the funding now. You need that business case to do that. Funding strategy was mentioned. So our submission was that TCDC support the development of the Karakia River Trail concept with an extended scope to include terminus at the Karakia Dock Visitor Centre as an economic development recovery project. TCDC provides funding to the value of $100,000 for trailer route construction, investigations, consultation and development of a business case to the standard required for further application to any tourist infrastructure fund or the cycle trails fund. And council will not be alone on this because we have a community group that wants to support this, do all of the local consultation and provide resource. One of the issues with the original concept was that TCDC said they didn't have the resource. We can help with that resource. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hampton. Is there any questions, clarification? Councillor Rodley.
So, thank you, Greg. Your one of the slides said, talking about local economy, it said 98.5% domestic users. Was those figures around when we sort of middle of pandemic?
Yeah, that study was done in 2021, so it might align with COVID,
right,
and the international being closed. Yeah. But I still think that by far the greatest percentage of users of a cycle trail in New Zealand will still be domestic tourists. And of course, we are beautifully placed here within the Golden Triangle to have regular visitors. They don't have to go all the way down the South Island or halfway down. They have access for here in a couple of hours and they can do a half-day experience and come back and hospitality
Any further questions of Mr. Hampton? I have one of the 73% of the people who don't shop for leisure in New Zealand.
Have you heard of electric bikes?
I just, have you spoken to the place of Karakia Farm, was it?
Oh, hello, Mark. So, Harry, I've spoken to Harry about whether he would have any objection to a cycle trail going through Karakia Farm, and he said no.
And there's such project?
Have not spoken. So we haven't done all of the consultation, but the group has talked to there's areas all around the valley.
Right.
And it has been mainly supportive.
Yeah, at this stage, a very positive response, so we haven't gone any further.
Have you spoken to Council Rebel lives up the Cumberland Valley?
We may have on a number of occasions.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Hampton and your team. And we'll look forward to getting you later.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrens. You were talking about, just to give everybody a little heads up, you were talking about Mary Street, correct?
Mary Street, yes.
Right, you may be seated if you wish, or you can stand. It's entirely up to you. You have 5 minutes.
With no consultation, the previous community board imposed the closure of Mary Street, cutting off the only safe access to State Highway 25 from the commercial centre of Thames. This so-called activity area has been the biggest waste of time, money, and energy ever undertaken by an elected body. Mr. Adrian Patron was subsequently elected to the current community board on the basis of his undertaking to rid us of this eyesore. It is disappointing that some members of the board have an agenda to maintain what is in actuality an illegal temporary road closure. Are you aware of that? That it is illegal? The illegal continued temporary closure of Mary Street needs urgent attention before the TCDC has litigated these, which would require serious financial commitments. And if you wish, I will attach a copy of the relevant law, which you're welcome to look at. Apart from this, nowhere in New Zealand has a useful open space been successful. Aotea Square, Hamilton City Square, Christchurch Square are all windswept emptiness. Why? We live in the roaring 40s. We do not have a culture of eating out in the open, in a public street where your food will be blown off your plate. We do not have squares surrounded by multi-level apartment blocks. We do not have cafes that start at 7 a.m. and finish at 2 a.m. Contrast this with Mary Street's illegal closure, which is surrounded by concrete walls with a decorated shipping container adding to the wall effect. We have one cafe open between 9 to 3 sometimes, plus one other shop which is closed due to losing on-street parking for its customers. A truly dismal, depressing, nothing space, severely impacting on the commercial area of Thames. Where do the buskers go? Outside the farmers and the old post office. In other words, the centre of Thames. Not in the middle of a walled concrete bunker where the westerlies howl through. What we have in this bunker? A gathering of vagabonds and dishevelled, unwanted, lost souls. A new set of rubbish bins buzzing with flies and wasps. Right next to the street art. Who made that tasteless decision? Which, I might add, was done several times before they seemed to get it nearly right. Should we use the walls for tennis volleyball? Then, of course, lots of environmentally unacceptable plastic grass, but mainly a deserted waste space and completely, utterly empty of people. I would ask the lady members of the community board if they've ever visited this space at night on their own. I challenge you. And if not, why not? The roundabout at Mary Street was a safe entry into State Highway 25 from the commercial centre of Thames. Was the commercial centre asked if Mary Street closure was a good idea? And if not, why not? The public raised 2 petitions, one for and one against. Those against outnumbered the for by some 10 to 1, and a clique of community board members contemptuously dismissed results based on their own unsubstantiated polling. If this continued illegal closure to satisfy someone's ego, be brave. Admit it is not wanted. Put aside your own ego and get rid of it. I think the other important issue too, which is perhaps unaware, most people don't ever consider this, but that is a historic pathway. It's always been there. Ask the Historic Places Trust if you can close off a traditional pathway. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parent. Anybody, any questions?
Would you like a copy? Would you like a copy of the?
I just had a question, Peter, because I haven't gone and spoken to people who run Computer Geeks, and you've just said that they closed because of the lack of parking outside their shop. Have you gone and asked them that directly? I thought that there were more complicated reasons for them
Yes, I
moving
did.
to another location.
Yes,
Okay.
I did.
And that's what they said?
That was one of the contributing reasons.
What were the other contributing reasons?
We can discuss that to him. I'm
I will.
not going to report across.
Thank you.
Board member, right, Rob?
Yeah, through the chair, can I get, can we share this copy of information you were saying? Thank you.
That is absolutely, that I found on the internet in about 2 minutes.
Shall I give it to Jenna and she can?
Yeah.
Any further questions? Being none, thanks very much. Mr. Parent. Mr. Baker, please. Mr. Baker, are you speaking on Ngarimu? Yes, water.
Yeah, the item on the agenda for
2.1.
2.1.
Yep. Yes. Should say, yep. Yeah. So anybody wants to follow what? What's the submission? You have 5 minutes to present your case.
Thank you. Good morning, your board members. I'm speaking here as a Ngarimu Bay resident. Some of you will be aware that I'm a planner with the District Council, but I'm not speaking on their behalf in that role today. I live in Ngarimu Bay and a member of the Ngarimu Bay Boards Society Committee. We support the recommendation for the easement to continue to give protection to that water pipeline going through Lot 7. The water network serves 56 properties, as the your report says, and has consents from WRC for intake of water from the Otahi stream. Lot 7, where the easement is proposed, is a title that's owned by the District Council. It's a fee simple title. It's not subject to the Reserves Act. It was created when the survey was done in 1946 as a drainage way, and it has had pipes through it for several decades as part of the water network. The easement that's proposed would give the Water Society some security over that pipeline through Lot 7, and the lot is essentially a lot that's not used for any other purpose apart from being a drainage way. It's not used for a walkway. There's another walkway within 100 metres down the road to the reserve. It's unlikely to be created as a walkway because one already exists, and our concern is that with Lot 7 as a fee simple title, council could possibly sell that to adjoining owners. And without the easement, the Water Society would have no opportunity to access that pipe if we needed to get onto that property to do some maintenance on it. Currently, with council ownership of it, expect we would be able to do that, if a need arose for, maintenance of that water pipe. An easement would have to be drafted. We're happy to, have council's legal team draft that and pay for that services, for those services, but we've got concerns about the recommendation that required $1,000 to be paid for the benefit. The pipe has existed for several decades as part of the water network. The property isn't used for anything other than a drainage way. It has been surveyed for that purpose. I can understand the $1,000 being charged if there was a building on public property, if there was an access over public property to private property. But essentially, this is an existing water. We're just asking for an easement over it to give the Water Society a level of protection for that asset, and just in case the property is at some stage in the future transferred from council ownership to private ownership. I'm happy to answer any questions the board have.
Any board members have a question of Mr. Baker?
No.
Oh, sorry, board member Lynch.
So, just looking here, as well as those having pipes for the local houses, 50-something, that services 50-something houses.
The water supply network in Ngarimu, this water supply network in Ngarimu Bay serves 50 properties.
Right, but there's also hydrants for firefighting.
It has three hydrants for firefighting purposes, yes.
Right, would that be the only, apart from them bringing water up in a tanker or a fire engine, that would be the only access to water in the case of a fire up there?
That would be my understanding. There are other properties that have, there are smaller schemes that take water from the Otoni stream.
Yep.
Apart from our group of 56 properties. I think the hydrants are the only hydrants that are the
Okay. Thank you.
Chairperson, $1,000 is a one-off payment, I think. Is that right? That was it.
Well,
Wasn't it?
it's an open-ended situation.
I thought it was a one-off.
Doesn't specifically say that, we'll have to ask John Buston later.
certainly others on annual payments.
No, that's what I thought. I thought it was just, I'm pretty sure I read somewhere it was a one-off, but okay, maybe I did not.
I certainly question the need for it, given that it's a public health issue to have water and the existing asset is there.
Yeah, we'll go a brief on it later.
I guess I just wonder why is it recommended? Why is there a charge then?
We'll ask that to the officer.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Real, Councillor Real.
I was just
Just
doing your job.
yeah,
Yeah, sorry.
go.
Consideration for the easement, council has charged a one-off fee of $1,000 on the basis that private property owners are getting a benefit over public land.
Unfortunately, there's
And other similar situations, that's it, so I don't see why that would.
But that's outside the public forum.
that's the and the recommendation doesn't read that one.
Okay.
I see it's only 1.7 metres wide, so the only way they could would sell it to the adjoining property owners. But who maintains it currently? Do you mow it?
It's unmaintained at the moment. Yeah, I think the adjoining property owners probably keep the vegetation to a level that they're comfortable with.
It's not defined by being fenced on either side, is it?
No, it's not, no.
So it looks like part of their property anyway.
For all intents and purposes, it looks like it belongs to either of the properties adjoining it, yes.
Sure. Now, did I hear you correctly in saying that you would contribute to the cost of
The
granting the easement proposal, that you would contribute towards the cost of taking that up?
That's correct. The easement will have to be drawn up by a legal person had registered on the title, and the society would be happy to pay those costs because that's the benefit that society's getting.
So it might be a fair deal. Right. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Baker.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, what is it currently at the moment? Was it?
But there are issues at the moment, and it's possibly about $2,000 to get a meeting and join that.
Bruce, does your properties adjoin this easement that we're being requested?
No, it does not. We're on the other side of the road. About
Thank you.
100 metres down the road.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Baker. Thanks, man. Mr. Glenn, were you here or were you just going to sit in for the gun club? Were you on?
All the teams play tag club with Mr. Van der Week.
You want to make? Yeah, okay, make a pitch. Yeah. So your name, please, sir?
Martin Van Wittering,
And you're from the,
I'm a resident of the Thames Plateau.
oh, I saw that on the letter you wrote.
Yeah.
You can sit down or stand up, whichever you like, you have 5 minutes.
I will sit down if that's
Yeah,
okay.
that's absolutely fine.
I'm currently suffering from
When
shitting.
you stand up, you put yourself in shoulders above us.
I really probably will just go through most of what we've included in attachment C here. With regards to the Thames Plateau Club. The Thames Plateau Club is one of the oldest in the country. It was formed in 1899. Its initial, the initial president of the club was introduced into the New Zealand Clay Target Hall of Fame recently. It's got a long history extending from 1899 onwards. The club has been situated at the back of the airfield since the early 1960s. And in the early 2000s, we redeveloped the club after notice was given for the new airstrip to be put in. That ended up running right through the centre of our grounds. Since 2003, we have raised in excess of $500,000 for the facilities that are at the club, mainly through funding applications to pub charities. And now we have developed the club up to the extent where there is only 3 clubs in the whole North Island that are registered with the New Zealand Clay Target Association and able to host the North Island Championships. And Thames is the only one that is not in a major city. There was originally Auckland, Hamilton, Wellington and Thames. Auckland had actually pulled out and no longer host the Island Championships. So that leaves 3 registered clubs with the New Zealand Clay Target Association. So it's quite a feather in our cap to have a club that's not based in one of the cities. And when we host the down the line championships, we will have we mostly have in excess of 150 competitors from all over New Zealand come to Thames for 3 days of competition, and no doubt quite a bit more with sort of looking around the region. So sort of considerable economic benefit. We also host on behalf of the New Zealand Clay Target Association championship events in other disciplines. Our sport of clay target shooting is broken up into a number of different disciplines. Down the line on track, ski, sporting, compact, ice stand, And later this year, we will be hosting the North Island Ski Championship, another 3-day event. And last year, we did the sporting North Island Championships. We're also on the roster to hold once every 4 years the Whakapeni Provincial Championship, which is a 2-day event that attracts visitors. And every year we host what's called the Thames Valley District Championship, another 2-day event that attracts 120 competitors. So the club has been in existence for a long time. We've developed the club up to where it is very well known throughout the whole country. It's a great venue to come and stay and compete at. And we've also had members representing our country, including the 2000 Olympics. One of our members shot at the Sydney Olympics. And numerous world championships. I myself personally have been to 9 of them. My daughter has been to 8. And I've taken so far 8 secondary school students to world championship at New Zealand juniors. So they're all trained at our club ground. So I would ask that the community board renew the lease.
So Councillor Rebel has a question of clarification from you.
Yeah,
How many members does the club have?
the club currently has about 70 or 80 members, but there is a lot of people that are members of other clubs come and pay their subscriptions at our club because they want to shoot our club championships. Okay.
So how many of those would be local? Those 70 or 80 would be local, would you say?
That would be, those would be our local members.
70 or 80 local members?
Yeah, including, there's something like about 24 or 25 secondary school students.
Right. And what are the annual fees for a member?
For our club?
For one to be a member of the club?
$15.
$15. Okay.
$20 for a family.
You go for the $20, wouldn't you?
So,
Anybody else that have any other questions?
Just to follow, I thought you were going to go and ask my question. No, I just wondered where the pool of your local members come from. Were you talking about Thames Coast, South, the Plains, or just Thames, or where do your local members come from?
well, we have people that basically are members of our club and register to the New Zealand Clay Target Association through our club. And some of those live locally, some don't. We have members who belong to our club from Waihi, Huntly, as well as, locally, the Karakia area. And like I live in Paira, so
You can
travel
hear it.
through all the way from Paira once a week to coach and things like that. So,
Thank you.
So, Mr. Van Weering, just one question. Who maintains or who provides the access to the club, please? The club responsibility to maintain the road, or is it maintained by?
no, I believe the roadway in is district council roadway because it also services the motocross track there. And at times that's probably been a bit of an issue because the road can deteriorate quite badly, and then we get, say, a championship event, you get visitors coming from all over the country. And it's quite embarrassing sometimes to, I think we put a load of metal on the road and towards the end of last year just to fix up some of the potholes. But usually we have to chase up for some maintenance on it.
Okay, no, I did an inspection last night, night before, it was pretty rough at the back end of the airfield there, run by 1-4 there, it's pretty bad in that area there.
Well, that roadway that runs past our club also accesses the stop bank for regional council to get to the pump station and the floodgates, etc.
Oh, we might be able to get some money from WRC. Any further questions? Thank you for that. In the hands. Right. So we get move somebody get a move the yep, move my button to the speaker. Speaker. Second by Board Member Johnson. Is there any discussion regarding that? There's been none proposed to put the motion, all those in favour, please say aye. Against, be carried. Did you get it right? Right, so we're just taking a little diversion at the moment, and we'll move to having a deputation from Mr. Hampton. So this is not actually one executive agenda, but this is what we're doing, having a deputation, just give Mr. Hampton just a little bit longer. Thank you, gentlemen. So Mr. Hampton just a little bit longer to make his presentation, which he has spent some considerable time in four meetings.
Thank you, Chair. Really appreciate the opportunity to present this proposal, and I hope that it is received as being constructive and progressive. So, moving forward, the Mary Street alternative and some other urban planning ideas, and I call it that because Mary Street on its own, it's a single little street, and it cannot be understood in isolation to how the town functions as a whole. So I'm going to have three proposals in this presentation. Number one, Thames Town Square and Vibe Event Centre. Number two, the Grahamstown Village Green. And number three, hills to coastal walkway cycleways. Hills to coast walkway cycleways. So the Vibe project status, originally proposed to the community, and this is direct out of a TCDC press release in January before it was installed. Proposed to the community as a 2-month temporary trial. The Vibe and road closure of Mary Street has now been in place for 26 months and counting. The Vibe has been a polarising development in our community. I'm sure we would all agree that there are those who are for and there are those who are against. The petition for reopening Mary Street had 641 signatures, petitions supporting the retention of Vibe, 120 signatures, but we'll move past that. Businesses prioritised in reopening Mary Street to support recovery from Cyclone Gabriel. That was at the forum that was set up by both TCDC and the Thames Business Association, which was ably facilitated by member Rebel. Installation materials are temporary and not intended beyond 24 months. So in the trial needs to be made. We're now 26 months into a temporary trial. Technical urbanism, the mechanism for which this was installed. And this is the rest from the Kotahi angle for technical urbanism. This is not exhaustive. list of principles, but here are two of the principles. One of the principles is that technical urbanism is more applicable for low risk streets where there are lower volumes of traffic. The reality is that Mary Street was never a low use street. It was our most high volume east-west street in the town right now. The second principle I'd like to point out is that the other principle is to adapt the intervention in response to performance and public feedback. These are words straight out of the handbook. The reality is that no adaptation or reconfiguration has taken place over the 26-month period since it's been installed. We move on. The Thames Community Board has only made one resolution in relation to the fire in the entire period, and that was a year ago, requesting that staff report back by 30 June. Final recommendation called Create the Fire Project following community consultation. The evaluation of the temporary trial. This is definition out of the dictionary. A trial is a test of the performance, qualities, or suitability of something. And therefore, what is the criteria to inform the outcome of the trial? What data is available to make any comparison to the status quo pre-trial condition? What are the funding constraints impacting your decision-making going forward? Is there the political will to ask ratepayers for between $500,000 and $1 million to make this permanent? That is direct from the WSP report. The evaluation plan methodology has not been shared with the stakeholders, community engagement, buy-in is low, and political risk has always been high, because this is an intervention into how the town normally operates. There were 10 options in the WSP evaluation report that you received a year ago, but it was not presented in your meeting. There were 10 options in that report, 4 options were presented. Here's 3 options that I'm pulling out of that very report. Make it permanent, 0.5 to $1 million. Advantages, permanence, continuous work already done, and creates town vibe and square. Disadvantages, no business relief, risk coming in election issue at that time. There's still a political issue there. Very high cost and no budget, and it ignores the petition. Option 2, removal, $20,000. Advantages, allows time to consider town centre plan, allows time to allocate LTV budget, gives business release, recognises the petition, lowest cost option, and removes election issue. May as well say removes the political issue. Disadvantages, opportunity loss of Times Square. I don't think it loses that opportunity. I'm going to show you that later. Number 3 option, removal with flexible closure, $46,000. I'm not sure what that speed was targeted on, but we'll go on. Advantages, allows time to consider town city plan, allows time to allocate an LTV budget, gives business release, recognises petition, medium cost, removes election issue or removes political issues, provides flexible space for events, improves safety of the intersection. Disadvantages, space less attractive as will look like a road. And I have this in here. Can this be, this one disadvantage of this option, can that be overcome? And that's what I'm suggesting today. It can be overcome. So it's this option of removable with flexible closure that I'm suggesting you should move forward through, because I believe that it is the best of both worlds, a transformed vibe. But first, in considering what that might look like, function before form. Always, when you design something, understand how our town, its roads and travel pathways function and connect. Before designing an installation, we should first analyse and understand key routes, recognise our spatial movement limitations. And Thames has a problem. Thames is a very linear urban design. State Highway 25 and our Main Street run parallel to each other with very few intuitive connections. I'll demonstrate that now. So why is Mary Street important? We virtually have a state highway bypass. The yellow is the state highway. The blue is Collins Street. We have very difficult connections between the town and the coastal edge. There are three intuitive points to enter the CBD from the state highway. This one here, which back in the 1990s, the chair might remember landscape architects suggesting, and this is when the bunds were installed, landscape architects suggesting a roundabout here, which could also access a safe access into the north. So that was used going back. So that's one. There's only three really intuitive entries to Collins Street. Two, Mary Street, because of the roundabout. The one and only roundabout between Kopu and Tauru. The only roundabout in that whole state highway connection. And the third one is, of course, when Collins Street joins up again with Chillico. Sorry, Queensfield. So 1 of 3 closed due to the ride. So that's state highway, it's visitors. It's community using the state highway, but also visitors. But what about our community and how our community moves around this town? We have a flat area through here, and we have hills, and we have Paraguay Road. The bulk of Thames Community sits through this area here on the hills. Paraguay Road is one of the main routes into town, and it intersects at Bank Street by Toyota. And of course, if everyone from Paraguay area turned onto the state highway there, and it happens at times, it banks up. It banks up and it so forth. So most people take Rolleston Street, which around here and enters Mary Street and heads down and connects. Mary Street connects the town centre with the mall. All of the hill communities lead down to Rolleston Street. That's why Rolleston Street and Mary Street are the two most popular routes in our town for our residents. And our one and our roundabout is now closed to residential use. And I hear this on a weekly basis in my store as the prime reason for all residents objecting to the closure of Mary Street. In CBD parking, so when we want to come to town, where can we park? Goldfields Mall. Airfield car park. People who generally park on that side of the highway, we know how busy that highway is. If they park here, hardly anyone is going to walk from here to the centre of town. They're going to get into cars and drive. The third part, which we can look across the road out here and see it full of council vehicles. I can tell you that I was the area manager at the time that that car park was funded, and it was funded as a CBD car park, not as a staff car park. And at the time, the Chief Executive, David Hammond, was considering stopping park staff from using that car park because its investment, the investment of the construction of that car park was mere to service the CBD. And the idea was that business owners would park here instead of parking in, so that shoppers could park. So that car park, of course, is here. But if you're coming down the highway, you can no longer turn into Mary Street and access the Mary Street and access the most direct use to that car park. People will not find it. But if Mary Street is open and it is signed, then people will be able to find it. And last Saturday morning at 11 o'clock in the morning, the busiest time of a Saturday, I drove to my shop and I couldn't get a park. The street was full. So I came around to this car park here. It was empty. And that's not the first, I've got a photograph that I've taken many months ago of Maggie Street on a Saturday morning, one of our biggest trading days, every week of the year, Saturday, this car park sits empty. But if Mary Street was open and we had signage to let people know that there is a public car park 200 metres away, I believe it would get use. Our 3 state highway connections to Collins Street and our 1 roundabout are critical access points for both residents and visitors. So back to my proposals, 3 proposals. Town Square and Via Event Centre. This concept relates to the option number 9, I think, in the WSP report that you received a year ago. Sorry, number 8. So it relates to that. And I believe that it's the best of both worlds, a transformed Via, and I'll pass out the concept. So that you can have a, be used with you and have you pass it.
Just while I was next there, Mr. Hampton, just to never remind us of you.
Yeah, and honestly, rhetoric was the right business.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, we'll talk to this.
Well, what I was going to say before you started here,
Yeah,
and which hasn't, the board members got any objection to Mr. Hampton continuing his presentation? Floor is yours.
thank you. Thank you, Chair. So, the Thames Town Square, a flexible public space. So this is the plan. So what you'll notice is that the Civic Centre Plaza is the centre of the vibe, not this intersection. The Thames Urban Development Strategy, from which was the basis of the Boffin-Miskell $30,000 plan several years ago, have a look in the Urban Development Strategy. It shows things being centred on a civic centre because the whole rationale was how do we activate the civic centre as a civic hub. And a development around the civic centre activates the civic centre. This addresses a lot of problems. This is an open street, except when you're having an event. This area, the paving goes straight across the road. I'll tell you some examples what that will look like. This creates an event space, this colour bit here, of 1,130 square metres. And it's surrounded by bollards and ramp, bollards and ramp, bollards and ramp, bollards and ramp, which means that when it is open to the traffic, this ramp area slows traffic down, makes it safe, so that you can create a shared space type environment. It's also with the bollards here and here and here and here and here, and on Collins Street, you have 4 options to close the street. Number 1, you can close the whole street for an event, for a large event. Number 2, if you're just having a civic centre event, you can just close that if it's going to spill out onto here. And the benefit of that is that this becomes the event space for that day, but the service lanes remain open. Then you can close it that far, or so you can see that there's several options there. The 11 car parks here, including the disability park, I would propose should be a 2-hour limit so that it's a shopper's car park area, which then completely basically replaces the parking that is lost here. I would suggest that at the very least that car parking is removed and that extends the courtyard. But if you wish, you could remove all of the car parking on both sides through here, and that way, once again, making it a more pedestrianised focused street. But critically, it is still open for the use of visitors and the public. And it might look something like that, or it might look something like that, or it might look something like that. But it could be very attractive. I have simply only given the spatial outline of it, but it could be landscaped to be absolutely attractive and functional, both as a road and an event space. That's the first proposal. Second proposal, Grahamstown Village Green. I haven't talked to St James Church, but there is Grahamstown. We have the beautiful St James Church. This, I believe, is a very logical and very doable and very affordable expanded public space, which is on a low-use street and would improve amenity value in the other heart of town, because we have such a long main street. We don't have one heart of the town, it's very fragmented. So the treatment here is that you close Pāhia only from here to here, and you create a village green. Very little. You could call it the Grahamstown Village Green, or you could call it the St James Village Green, because I think they would want to remove their fence down here, because that would be a beautiful open space where you could have this sort of activity on market day or on any day. Very affordable, very doable. Proposal 3. Hilton Post, safer walkway, safer way corridors. Back to our budget planning down and our linear. There are 4. Oh, there's the coast walkway. Highly used, very popular. There are 4, I think, really appropriate streets to improve or prioritise the walking cycling of. One is Richmond, because these 4 streets that I'm proposing connect all the way straight through to the coastal walkway. The one I didn't put on this plan is also Grace Street through here, and this is a really problematic area to get across the highway. That's another issue to address. But if you have this type of corridor, walkway, cycleway corridor connecting our community with this side of the town in the coastal walkway, Grace Street, Richmond Street, Walter Street, low use streets, low volume, but they connect, and Cochrane Street. And as cycleway corridors, Grace Street connects with the Thames Wharf. Richmond Street connects to Danby Field. Walter Street is really a good central CBD connection to the Brown Street Esplanade. And Cochrane Street, New Zealand Street, have a look in the urban development plan, that's in there. Connecting to the small gauge railway, so going back and having a look at that. You've got this even spacing of walkways, cycleways connecting to this side of the town, and I believe that we should be submitting to NZTA that at the intersection of all of these, where they cross the highway, we should have in the centre of the state highway pedestrian refuges, so that you can get to that point You can quickly get to the centre of the road and stop and look and go again. State highway is a real problem to get across, and it's not many years ago that a pedestrian was killed on the state highway outside Porritt Park. We really need pedestrian refuges on the state highway. And if we align them with these streets, and these streets should have these common attributes. All four corridor streets are safe, relatively low volume. All four corridors connect the community continuously from the hills to the sea and the coastal waterway. Corridor streets would prioritise walking and cycling activity via extended off-road pavements. Streets should be tree-lined and landscaped to beautify and accentuate those east-west connections. I believe once they're established, that visitors would also use them because they can work back the other way as well. And they could look, I don't know, that's the best picture I can find, but I reckon we can do better than that. Three proposals: Thames Town Square Inviting Event Centre, Thronestown Village Drive, also proposed safe walkway cycleways.
Is there any questions of Mr. Hampton, please?
And I'll do one more slide. There's only one more.
One more.
Because this wraps it up. Mary Street public consultation options, and this is important because you've obviously got that coming. When undertaking public consultation for Mary Street, include a number of options for the public's consideration. Include the town square flexible closure as an alternative via event centre. Include the option to return to the pre-trial status quo of an open street, and include the likely costs of all of those so that the public can make an informed decision. In June 2023, if the trial cannot be proven successful, then the status quo must be reinstated. That is, to open Mary Street. Thank you.
Moving forward, I like that. Any questions of Mr. Hampton, please? I might like to borrow one of those slides, the one showing the street planted out of the trees and things like that, and transpose that down to Grahamstown. Thanks, Rise.
I'd just like to say thanks, Greg. Really, really informative, and it's great that you've done such an amount of work. Thank you.
So, I'm going to.
I really appreciate the extra time.
Yeah, no problem at all. So, your next allocation of time will be in 2024. Yes.
I'm happy with that. I think I've had my start.
Okay, someone can learn the Thames Community Board, the Thames Greg Hampton, speaking with the deputation, please, move like. Claudia Robinson.
That'll be nice.
Is there any discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? And carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Hampton. Thank you, Chair.
It's lunchtime. Yeah.
Can I just ask one very quick question? With a deputation, with a public forum where we are allowed to ask questions, is it the same for deputation? Okay, thank you.
Seek your understanding orders.
I wasn't sure what the whole deputation thing was. Thank you for that. I'll look now.
It's a bit of an awkward one, really, because deputation normally has more than one speaker. That's the whole idea why you have deputations, multiple speakers. But it's the only one that's shared to give you extra time. All right, items not on the agenda. Any items not on the agenda anybody wants? Any conflicts of interest? Any place have conflicts of interest? Nothing in the page. Okay, minutes for confirmation. Everybody read the minutes of the last meeting?
I'll move them.
I'll second it. No, sorry.
So it's a meeting of 29th of March, 2023, moved by board member Johnson and,
No, Rebel,
Rebel, sorry,
Rebel,
seconded by,
Councillor Rodney.
Councillor Rowley, thank you. Clarification, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against. There, carried. Any points of clarification or anything in there? No, that is rising. 2.1. Easement proposals, 31A Patui Avenue, Ngarimu Bay. I think we've got Mr. Bunston on. Bunston. He's last and last to go to speak those.
Are we ready? Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board. So the report's fairly straightforward, and you've heard from Mr. Baker at this morning's public forum. Staff support the creation of the easement across the land in favour of the society. In the earlier discussion or in the forum, the question was asked, is this a one-off cost? Yes, it was proposed in the report and the recommendation as a one-off cost of the $1,000 plus GST. So if you spread that across your 56 members, you're talking about $17.85 as a one-off cost. And the reason we promote charges for these sorts of things is because a small subset of the community is getting a benefit that's not available to the rest of the community, but the rest of the community is granting that benefit. So why shouldn't that small sect pay for the privilege? In terms of precedent, there's been other easements the last few years created, again, where there's a benefit of a smaller number of people, and they've also been asked to pay and have been happy to do so. One thing I'd add in terms of a comment Mr. Baker made there was an expectation that council solicitors would prepare the easements. In discussion with them, that's not their preference. They would prefer the easement to be drafted by the society's lawyers and submitted to council's lawyers for approval. So really over to 8 questions, Mr. Chairman.
Is that a normal practice that the society lawyers draw up the easement?
The creation of easements, other than through subdivision, doesn't come along very often. And yes, that is more normal, because normally it's the person who wants to derive the benefit who does the work to make it happen. No different than really asking someone who wants to build a house to get an architect to do the drawings. You know, the council doesn't do the drawings.
That's a different context altogether.
Yeah, but the principle's the same.
Right, I do have some, I don't quite agree with you that what you say, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I don't agree with you where you say that it was a one-off payment. If you read the suggested resolution, recommends the Council of Ngarimu Bay Water Supply Society Incorporated be charged $1,000 plus GST for the easement grant. You could read that both ways. You could read that that's an annual one, so I probably should amend that to say it's a one-off charge, which I would have thought was normal practice.
Happy for that amendment to be made, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. So just so there's no ambiguity about it, it's just a one-off charge.
And
Yes, Councillor Riddle.
does that $1,000 then mean that would cover the costs of our legal people reviewing the easement that was submitted by their legal people?
That's an option, Mr. Chairman. Typically, no. Under the council's schedule of fees and charges, when the lawyers do work, that they can charge for their time spent.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
Yeah, I mean, I get, so yes, I asked Bruce about the fire hydrants, because that seems to me is that the whole thing about this is that it's, private property owners are getting a benefit. However, there is also the benefit to that community of having those fire hydrants there. But I support the idea that, an easement's granted, and support the idea that, that they be, charged that standard charge.
One-off charge.
One-off standard, one-off, once charge, yes.
Yeah, we just, huh? ED electronics. Okay, can you read that?
Yep.
Can you make it up? Are you comfortable with that, board members?
Does have any future costs like lawyer costs, whatever we talk about, if they go through the some kind of document?
No. My understanding, what that is a one-off charge
Okay,
to pay directly to Thames Community District Council for the easement over the piece of land.
okay.
That's different from legal expenses.
So is that a question? If that's the question, then yes, the two are separate.
We've got a fair few cross conversations going on at the moment. Somebody's just ordering lunch, I think. No? Yeah, the people online, can you please mute your microphones, please?
I think it's somebody in John's office.
Oh, somebody in your office,
Yes.
John.
So are you hearing background noise?
Yeah, background noise, yeah.
All right, one moment.
All the people on the beach.
Oh, right. Where's the Tahiti? Let's go over here. I suppose to do, oh, excellent.
Right, is that better?
Thank you, that's much better. I was blaming the staff in the conversation. Sorry, staff.
Sorry, no worries.
Right.
So what was the question, Mr. Chairman?
Oh, we've altered it. I can't read from this. It's too-
I saw when Jenna put up the amended change,
I
yes.
had a question about whether there was going to, your question basically whether it's going to cover the legal fee and whether there's going to be additional cost for legal fees.
Yes. Additional cost.
Right, so just to recap what the total costs to the society are going to be. So they're being asked to pay $1,000 one-off payment for the actual grant of the easement. They're also going to incur their own costs of their lawyer preparing a draft easement to be submitted to council's lawyers, who may charge a fee for the review of that documentation. Then the society will also have the cost of registering that easement against the titles.
Does that answer the question? Do you understand?
Yes.
Yes. You understand that
Yes.
the cost are outside of that $1,000.
Yes.
Did you want a supplementary?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Approx, what cost is gonna be if we have any bills come from the lawyer regard for that subject?
Can you hear that, Ms. Martin? What cost are likely for the council to incur from the
Council?
Yeah, like, I think, board member Ruck was asking, is there going to be any cost, but they won't be related to us. They'll be their own cost.
Yeah,
Right. So we
There's no-
should this for $1,000.
there's no once the lawyer has approved, our lawyers have approved the documentation submitted, it will then be for the society's lawyers to register that document against the land. So there'll be no further external legal costs incurred by council.
Councillor Rodney?
Yes, I just wanted to confirm that $1,000 for the easement grant is not us doing everything
No, correct.
and then having to do all that stuff, and we're charging them $1,000. I mean, one could be cynical, one could be cynical and say, what do we charge the $1,000 for? But yeah, I mean, if that's a stackable type of thing, yeah, I would like to move it based on that. See.
You want to, oh, okay. You want to see that, Alderman Kennedy?
No.
No? Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I get your name on the things that collect your salary.
Oh, yeah. I'll get there. I'm waiting for your special part to come up. Chairman's report.
Okay, can you read the amended motion on there? The motion is exactly the same what you got on page 11. Or I'm on page 11. With additional recommend the council that the Ngarimu Bay Water Supply Society Incorporated be charged $1,000 for TSC for easement grant as a one-off charge. One-off cost. Sorry. Okay, any further discussion on that matter? There no further discussion. I propose to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, declare. No. Thank you, Mr. Mustin.
You're welcome, Mr. Chairman. I'll stay online for the next item as well.
Down clock. Okay, item 2.2. Oh, this is 2.2. Welcome.
Everybody. I take the one of the it's pretty straightforward and acknowledge the public forum by the club. If there are any questions?
I just have a very quick question. When it talks about the lease history, it talks about the club being given 6-month notice in 2002 because there was further plans to develop the airfield. Presumably those plans are no longer valid or happening or necessary, or no one's going to come back and say, oh, but what about that plan in 2002 to...
I think it totally stalled back then. Nothing's happened in the last 21 years.
Okay.
So I'm assuming it just didn't fly.
Okay, thank you.
Questions about, and is it Miss or Mrs.?
Oh, just Ms. will do it.
You just moved to one side, yeah, but you got behind you.
Oh.
We've got, no, not behind you, on the screen.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
That's all right. Everybody just popped it up. It's such a big one. I'm used to reading it anymore. Councillor Rebel.
My question is, relates to the annual rent, where we have a policy of charging $350 to incorporated societies when they do anything when they're renting council land. It would seem that that policy relates to whether the council land is 50 square metres or 5 hectares. And it just seems that they're getting a lot of use of a lot of land for $350. And so my question is that something we need to look at some point? It's a policy thing, isn't it?
If you're looking to me, I can tell you that policy came back in the 2000s over a relationship we had with the Whangataa Supervised Savings Club. Didn't want to pay rates. And it extended out to all those clubs and organisations, including the Whangataa Game Fish Club, bowling clubs that are on council land and other. In this particular case, I'm not going to go back for them all. They maintain that immaculately. They mow it more often than they airfields mow. It's maintained and looked after, the buildings are tidy. If you've gone out and had a look around, I went out and looked 2 nights ago, and it is well maintained, well fixed. They also take on hiking building of 24, as you heard, and go through and teach them how to.
So I guess my question.
So the question will be, you have to go back to the council. You want to change that. Council. Currently, it's $350. That's what we can do. We can't over it here.
Yeah. That was the place.
Now I want to pass Ms. Mill. That was a right or wrong.
it's a district council policy and it was adopted by council in 2020, so it probably will be coming up for review. At the end of the year, perhaps.
I'd just like to add in, through the chair, I'd just like to add in that you've got to keep in mind, Peter, that it's, you know, it's a community service thing that we're doing rather than a commercial enterprise. You know, that's why these leases are.
And also, when you look at that, at $15 membership, and not making large sums of money out of it. You know, like, I think when you do look at it going forward, you'll find that some of the organisations that are sitting on a $350 plus GST around these, you'll find that they have other means of making money over and above, like posting things and things like that. We really need to, because it's something that we as a council back in those days did not want to take the ball by the board. It's just we need to look at it. So anyone probably digressing a bit on this kind of, you know, there's a lot of area which we can look at on.
I think my question's been asked that it's a council.
Correct.
Would be council.
Back to you.
That's my question and it's been answered. Thank you.
On your, anybody else got any further? We put it up, yes. Board member, right?
To be fair, if we can see the rent is pretty low, way low, you know, but for the fair reason, they should pay all outgoing because they come up to other ratepayers' money. Okay. So be fair, they're getting really good deal. And if they want to run something, they say should able to absorb the outgoing. That's pretty fair. Because some people make money, some don't, and their responsibility how they run the business.
You find they don't use electricity out there, they have their own electricity. I think they've got bore water and they've got septic tanks. They don't much cost the council.
Through the chair, we got a reply about that from John.
Oh, absolutely.
The only outgoings club pays a portion of the land rates, rate shares, 1,362, and the club owns the building and pays through supplies, electricity repairs and maintenance.
Yeah. Pays what?
They pay electricity rates, repairs and maintenance. They pay electricity repairs and maintenance, and the club pays a portion of the land rates, and their share is 1,362.
Could make electricity.
The club.
Yeah, they've got a generator and that power.
So as far as that's it's
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I suppose in general terms they do cut the electricity. They're a generator. But anyway, there's Councillor Riddle.
Do we know if the users of the airfield have any objection to the game club being extended? No, they don't all. No.
Been surveyed, it's a different parcel. They're quite a long way away from any operation. Airfield operations.
But there's off the record that there's quite a separation between runway 3214, but all students are very aware of what would happen if we spray over the top of the gun club when they're shooting. There's quite a separation, I think. Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, as the report notes, we did discuss the matter with Council's recreation manager, who's part of the Airfield users group. So she did not see any issues.
Thank you very much. Someone care to move that the Thames Community Board received the new lease part 395 Ngāti Maru Highway, Thames Airfield report dated 27th of April 2023, and the rest is on the screen. Moved by Board Member Johnson. Do we have a seconder, please? Oh, thank you. Seconded by Board Member McKenzie. Any further discussion? I'm proposed to put the motion. I will not read the motion out. Please check it on the board first, so you're aware of what you're voting for. Okay,
Yeah.
all those, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank
All
you,
those
Mr. Chairman.
please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? They're carried. All right. CAPEX,
Andrew.
4.2. Welcome, Mr. Bowden.
Good morning to you, Mr. Chairman, and everyone else.
So we've had some discussion about that.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, Mr. Bowden's part of this membership sideways. That'd be fantastic. Thank you. I love this marketing. Can you read? Can you read it now? You're all got it on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay. There has been some discussion about our approach to this, but I think we'll go down left-hand side of the page as quickly, line by line. So I take it as you've all read it and you'll have your questions should have been ordered to this field prior to this, but if you don't, we'll take questions today on the matter. So starting off with library, anybody, any comments about the library? Parks and open spaces, anybody got anything down there? Parks and open spaces. Car park resealed, you'll see the Danby car park has been resealed.
Yep.
Community roading. So we might like to comment because how are you now with your survey on the community roading? Have you got,
On the Bond Street,
yeah, underground?
yeah, we've finished that. We've just got some supplementary work to be done, probably during the course of this month, to complete the full survey.
Right,
So we're nearly there, in other words.
right. Did you find anything you didn't expect to find?
Plenty.
What is the final?
We haven't got enough.
But that would be reflected in the cost, no doubt.
Well, we'll see. We are, joking about, we are working through it at the moment. We will be in the going out for expression of interest for geotechnical testing, also for a concept design based on the knowledge that we have with the existing pipe work along the 2K length of Pollard Street and adjacent streets. So we are starting now to look at, and there's no cost to this, to start ramping up for the design and planning work that will happen next financial year. So that's current at the moment.
Yeah.
And we're looking at, we're going to meet, we're going to pay a visit to Ngāti to see what not to do.
I was just going to say why not.
And we're going up to Pitianga to have a look at the town centre there. A couple of people in my team are not really aware of it. And then we're going to speak to Buffalo Municipal again about what they could help us with regard to any potential, stress the word potential upgrade to Pollard Street itself. So we're moving forward from the survey.
Councillor Rodley.
So a related question, yesterday I was driving around having a look. And a resident asked me about some flooding stuff happening around Martha Street, Cochrane, and by the community gardens that was a shade there.
Yes.
And said how, there's some of the pipes that are broken and all the rest of it. So that sort of work is going to be included in this, entire Pollen Street infrastructure upgrade?
No,
No,
no.
that's only replacing pipes in Pollen Street.
If you, with respect, this is Pollen Street infrastructure upgrade. Any other issues, and I'm aware of what you're talking about, should we put in an IFS or to customer services to get the orders and look at it.
Yeah.
They are incidental issues that I understand need to be addressed. I'm fully conversant with that, but as far as Pollen Street, the cross street is concerned, we need to be a little bit careful that there's not potential scope creep. That we pick up every single issue in adjacent streets, such as the one you mentioned. So the answer is no.
Okay, so your recommendation for that would be an RFS?
Absolutely, right now,
I'll do it right now.
right now.
Well,
On the way out.
Yeah, and it will be addressed, I can tell you
thank you.
Just very quickly, Mr. Bowden, you mentioned Pop and Miskel. I know looking back through some of the prior information, Pop and Miskel have done some preliminary work, have they not?
They did, about 2 years ago, Mr. Chairman, they did a streetscape concept, grand scheme, and I stress the word grand scheme on Pollen Street, okay? That would have cost, you'll fall off your chair if I tell you how much it was. I don't know, cost estimate as well. So it's a grand scheme. Boffa Miskel did all the design for the upgrade of Fitty End, and they're very good and well experienced. So we're just going to have a chat with them about how we could pare that back on the understanding that if we just replace all the pipes in Pollen Street and do nothing at all to upgrade the street itself, the project, in my opinion, would be an abject failure. An abject failure. So the idea is, and bear in mind, just looking ahead, we've got a budget in the LTP and the upcoming annual plan for the project, okay?
We asked that we left there.
I've looked at the project request form that backs that up, and I believe it's pigeonhole is the way I describe it. So what we're doing at the moment, and the driver for this is to look at Pollen Street, right? And what we need to do in Pollen Street with the ageing infrastructure that's there. Look at exactly what that is, get a concept for that, get a cost estimate, and I would use the same quantity surveyor who did the estimate for the original Boffa Miskel plan, and then look at the cost, then look at the LTP, say, we've got enough money, great. We haven't got enough money, and then we look at the LTP. I don't want to start the project, in fact, I won't start the project unless I know that the budget that we have is sufficient for what the community and you and this board expect. That's it. That's the driver for the project.
I appreciate that assurance. Probably from my point of view, there's nothing too good for teams. Anybody else, any questions? Thanks. Yes, Councillor Real.
No, once we move off Pollen Street, I have a question.
Sorry, just simple question. The pipe work lining the Pollen Street, is it in the middle or the left or right?
Some of it is in the middle. Most of it in CBD, that I would call it, is under the pavements on either side. So it varies. It varies as well. So it's all over the place, to be honest with you. But there's a lot of it is under the pavements as well, adjacent to it, with some of the other infrastructure like power and data as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask a question related to Pollen Street?
Yeah.
I got it.
In the planning, is consideration being given to a redesign of the network, which would mean instead of digging up Pollen Street, we dig up Mackey Street and put the pipes down Mackie Street and just dive, right? So a redesign of the overall network so that we obviate the need to dig up Pollen Street.
No. Yes.
And do you know why we haven't considered a less intrusive approach that would be less intrusive for the businesses in the district?
Probably cost to move everything into Pollen Street. That hasn't been considered, Peter, but it's a very good idea. And it will be.
Thank you.
Very good idea.
Yeah, because does the actual main sewer go down Pond Street? I always thought they went down the service lines.
Prime Minister's, yeah.
Sewers all over the place.
It does vary along the street. It's all over the place.
Okay. All right, over the page. Page 5 on my one. Patui Road, that's all under control and moving forward.
Yeah, can I give
Oh,
you
sorry.
an update on that at the moment?
Sorry.
Can I give you an update?
Yeah, sure.
Right, approximately 60% of the agreements between us and the local residents have been completed and agreed as of now, right now. When this report was written, it was 50%. My latest update is 60%, and it's moving forward. It's going very well. The tender for the construction work has been extended by 2 weeks at the request of 2 of the tenderers, and we're expecting a 4 or 5 tender prices back on the 26th of this month, which is good news.
Very good.
Very good news.
Very good.
And hopefully, fingers crossed, we get a good competitive price. So the market has reacted positively to the tender that's gone out. Okay. As far as the designation is concerned, submissions closed at 5 o'clock last night. We've received 7 submissions from 5 of them. 5 of them are in support of the project, and they're mostly local residents. 1 is opposed. That's Wakakotahi, and 1 requires more information. Those 2, the last 2, are based on technical queries, so we'll address those. So that is good news as well. And just looking ahead, the intention is hopefully we get the tenders within the budget, and we'll start construction in September or October, depending on the weather. So,
That is good news.
yeah, please, I like that.
This project got very good. Councillor Rodley?
No, no. Are you still talking about Okra? Yes, okay, yep, Karen.
Are we able to ask the basis of Wakakotahi's submission?
I haven't read it, to be honest with you, Peter.
Okay.
It is technical queries, and they're mostly related to, ironically, the intersection that we finished already. I'm going to put through that, and I've got Nichols Civil, who are design engineers, working on that at the moment. But they only arrived recently, so we're going to review those now. But I'm positive that 5 of the submissions received are all from local residents, and they're all in support of the project.
It's incredibly positive news about Totara Valley. First time ever, I think.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
first time today. But yeah, it is. No, I thought you'd be, pleased, especially with the number of tenders, because we tendered it at the end of last year. We got 1.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that, I think they're tendering again, but there's other people as well. They've asked to extend it, so as far as I'm concerned, if we get a good price. Yeah.
Because my understanding is the Sydney lot subdivision just sitting there waiting for the.
Quite, and they, and I've been in touch with,
Time sharp.
right, the work that we've agreed to do for them will be first off the rate.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
And I've told Brian that, and I've made sure that Pinnacles are aware of it, So when we do appoint a contractor, he will be told, if we finish the bridge or whatever, Brian, whatever is in the agreement will be done first.
Oh, that's good news. That is good news. Seriously good news, because that's a lot of sessions sitting there.
Yes, I know.
Councillor Rodley?
So is that with the number of landowners, so is it 6 out of 10 or 12 out of 20? How is it?
20.
There are 20.
There's 7 who are unaffected.
Yep.
13 are affected, and the value of the agreements ranges from $1,000 to 70 at the moment.
Okay.
So
Depending on the width and size.
Yeah, depending on that. So we're expecting, the forecast is at the moment that we will spend, and we'll come to council with this, approximately $380,000 to buy the land that we need to widen the road. That's where it is at the moment.
Excellent, okay. So over the page,
Sorry, just yeah, sort of between the Collins Street one and the Totara Valley one, there's the streetlight renewals. Where it says maintaining existing lights, ensuring TCDC streetlight assets are safe and fit for purpose. So are you able to reassure the board that the streetlights, particularly in Collins Street, are safe and fit for purpose?
Yeah. With all due respect, Councillor Roddy, we've been down that path and even amended our last lot of minutes to include that in there. And Mr. Bowden told us at the time.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And that was to do with
Very clearly told us at the time.
Yes, I did.
I as a supplementary question then, is any additional money being spent currently to assess those streetlights?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Happy with that?
Well, I'm still standing to flag. Board member Rockwell?
That's my favorite subject, flags.
Right.
So fitting owned by contractor or councils? I just want to I want to make sure we get it right. So the fittings on the poles owned by council or somebody else?
By us.
Thames Community Board paid to put those up there many years ago. So we didn't have to take out a traffic management plan to change flags. So that was the sole reason, and it was quite an expensive exercise on my end. Okay, and we went through that there, go through that traffic. Right, Airfield. Straightforward, balls and fit. Harvest, economic development, Coburg Marine, is a.
Right, another update if you want it. I provided.
As long as they're good news, we don't mind.
Look at me and think of good news from that day. I provided a one-pager with this report, which is going to be extended next month. It's just, I've got a comment on that. The contractor is working on the rock revetment at the moment, which are 85% complete. And they're preparing now to start work on the recreational boat ramp, which comprises a sheet piled cofferdam. That's current at the moment. And the concrete pontoons that will form part of the main ramp, main wall, are under construction in Tauranga at the moment. And our project manager actually is on his way there at the moment to inspect them with the project structural engineer. So things are going well at the moment. They're not really affected too much by the bad weather, and the project is going particularly well. And we've used, before Mr. Revel asked me, we've used 35.8% of the contingency of the project at the moment.
Is that the contingency fund, or is that 35% of the $15 million project?
No, we've used 30.3% of the total project contract sum. And we've used 35.8% of the project contingency.
And so what brought the contingency into play?
The ground conditions. Ground conditions.
Yeah.
Predominant.
So I get nervous when we start using it. Oh, certainly you'll have to change.
Through the
You
chair.
got more money.
Yeah, what we should do. So just on the funding component, you should be aware that we had an application into the Waikato Regional Council Economic Development Fund.
Yeah.
And Councillor Revell presented to the council on that. It was submitted in September last year, so we waited quite a long time for them to make a decision. The application was for the full $1.13 million, the full contingency. And the WRC Council made the decision to provide half of that funding. Can't remember the exact number, but it's half of whatever one could read.
Last 55 or something.
Yeah. And the funding comes with conditions. So the first condition is that the other 50% of the contingency be secured, and that money be spent first. So they require that the Regional Economic Development Fund be spent last, which means that if there is a $600,000 overspend, they will only spend the difference between the 565 that the Thames Community Board has underwritten and the full amount. So it is disappointing because the whole basis of the application and Peter's presentation was that we didn't want to burden the Thames Community Board with this cost. But unfortunately, that's how it's landed. We have pushed to try and see how much wiggle there is on it, and there is no wiggle. So it means that we are still looking for money to do everything that we can to, find the full amount. But that's just the position.
Okay. On that point, there, you're still looking for more money. MBIE.
That's right. Yeah.
Also said that they would not give us any more money until the contingency fund had been used up. So were they another source that you were thinking?
That would be the first people that we go back to. So they want, everybody wants to make sure that you've exploited all other possibilities first. We don't know that anybody have money sitting around to top up projects like this. There was a time earlier on when we were still looking for $5 million that they were talking about being able to contribute a little bit of funding, but they've basically seesawed from one position to the other for months now. The context has changed with the impact of the cyclone and the additional cost that our council was under, and our ratepayers facing a significant rate increase. So that adds to the weight of the case. That's what we're doing to Eddie.
Okay, so just on what we should ask another question with regards to that. I noticed it was in one of the articles I read about saying it was a regional development. That's why it was a regional development. That's the reason why I went to Waikato Regional Council. It was a regional development. Might be so bold as to suggest it becomes a district council development.
Yeah, look, that's a rating thing. It's a quirk of the rating system that I don't actually understand properly, the rate review policy. The wharves and fishings and boat ramps are ward funded.
Yeah, but this is more than Councillor Roddy's going, correct me, but this is the problem is I see it, and I want to get this out. That we cleared out our cash reserves with over the limit, is invoked section 90 to get it all out, which really annoyed me. And we put $1.4 million in there. Thames put $1.4 million in there. Now, there seems to be some sort of thought that Thames will step up for the balance. Now, that's variously between $6 and $12 per rateable assessment, I think it's going to be. Depending on how much we.
Yeah, it's about $14 per rateable for 20 years.
Yeah. So I would have rather seen it gone out to district wide. This is a problem you have Eastern Seaboard, Western Seaboard councillors. And it didn't get onto the district council agenda, but that's where it should have sat. Particularly the mussel farmers from Coromandel wish to use it.
Yeah, so we'd have to review the minutes from the council.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the community board did agree to underwrite it, so the decision is what we're working on. It is our last resort, and we're doing everything we can to avoid that.
Yeah, I am somewhat surprised the Thames Community Board decided to underwrite it, but I'm sure Councillor Rodley's got something to tell me as to why they succumbed to that and decide to underwrite it.
I wasn't necessarily going to comment. I was just saying that if wharfs and boat ramps and things were district wide, then Thames people would have contributed to Royal Billy Point in Pawanui. So yes, we could make wharfs and things district wide and rate everyone across the whole district for them, but that would then mean Thames people would be paying for facilities and other parts of the thing. And I'm not saying that's good or bad, and there's potential of discussions about rate reviews and things, but at the moment that's what it is. But and then to answer your next question, my feeling around the community board at the time was that we wanted to get a project that was going to have 12 odd million out of 15 million funded by not us, to get that over the line. And yeah, it was pretty much, well, let's make this happen no matter what. Now we're kind of in the no matter what territory.
Yeah.
And you know, we're going to face some flack and issues over it, but at the end of the day, we're going to have a $15 million facility there that there was no way we would have been able to pay for ordinarily.
I think the board manager caused it unintended consequences. I could go on for hours about this, but seriously, I'm just waiting for the coast road to pack it on the Kirita Hill, pack it in, and you can't get muscle trucks down, and then on the side here, we can bring them up to Kopu and unload them there, and then we can generate some income. Around about between $15 and $20 per tonne of everything of mussels unloaded, which will generate over $100,000 a year of mussel of money coming into us. But at the moment, we just look at the bill of now 565,000 basically. Not denigrating anything Councillor Real did, getting the full amount, and I think he did bloody well to get what we got. But this is what we're up against for the community board.
Sorry, if I could just say as well, the application was really up against it in that fund. There was already $2 million of that fund had allocated towards the Sugarloaf project, and that's for that fund. There was just that project, our Kopu application, and just one other small project that they were funding. So for a regional economic development fund, the TCDC has potentially received, $2.6 million in funding from a regional economic development fund, which I think is only about 5. So it was for us to get anything was a big win.
Board Member Johnson.
Could I just,
Board Member Johnson one and Price representatives.
I just need a clarification just to make sure I'm completely clear. So contract prices awarded, it included a contingency sum, which belongs to the principal in a contract, right? Mm-hmm. Thames Community Board underwrote that amount on the basis of if it couldn't be found from other places, we would stump up that money. But at the moment, you've got 565,000 from regional council. So our exposure has been reduced then from what it was by half. So that's a good thing. Yeah. So and the only way that underwritten amount could possibly go up again from. So now we're only liable for 565, not 1.13 or whatever it was. at the moment because we have to spend that money first as well.
Yeah.
So the only way it gets worse for us is if the contingency that's built in wasn't enough as well and it extends over the, yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure.
That's a valid point. If the contingency doesn't cover work going forward, there's a shortfall. The board motion said 1.3 million. So somebody tells me it was supposed to be 160,000. This point's in the wrong place. So does that mean that we may have to pay even more? Are we the backstop, Thames Community Board?
Whatever is in the minutes of what was agreed to be under, and the project manager is just managing costs very closely. And really Andrew is the best person to answer that, but
Can I just for real clarity, it's a $15.3 million project. That's what the budget is. That budget is funded. If they come back to us and say, hey, we need another million, then we're not liable for that other million. The project needs to figure out how we're going to fund that other million. It's not coming back onto the community board. So the budget that the project manager is working to is a $15.3 million budget, which includes a $2 million contingency. So he's actually building a, if you like, a $13.3 million wharf with a $2 million contingency in it, right? Now, but just think about the overall budget of 15.3 million. We got funding from MB, we got funding from council, got funding from whoever, we got funding from the Thames Community Board through the tug fund, which took us up to a point where it was 1.13 million short of the $15.3 million, right? So all that funding was there. It was hoped that MB would be stumping up the balance, that 1.13 million. And when we got the word from MB that they can't make a decision until October, was when it was brought to the community board and saying, in the event that we need that 1.13 million, will you agree to rate the ratepayers, which we did. We agreed to do that because that meant the next day the contract was signed, the project got underway, and we're in that. What our economic development team immediately did was then go and start looking for other places for that 1.13 million, the primary place being WRC. WRC had come back and said, hey, we'll give you half of it. So as Rob points out, we're now not liable for 1.13. We're only liable for 565, right? I personally have absolute confidence in the economic development team here as they are looking at, and I know they're looking at a whole lot of other options of where they can find funding that will take our ratepayers off the hook for the balance of that $15.3 million project. As Rob points out, if for whatever reason, it goes over the 15.3, then that's a completely new discussion, which we're not having at the moment, because at the moment we're only 35% through our contingency, et cetera, et cetera. And for the record, I know you are surprised and disappointed and disgusted that the board made that decision last year, but I am totally behind the decision that the community board made last year to get the project underway.
At the time, it was not going to happen. It was really sign those contracts or wait until another 12 months for the next construction season and another couple of $1 million worth of inflation. Yeah.
Drop off some of the car parks.
Hang on. The decision's made. We are where we are.
And I'm not actually disgusted at all. I think I'm in the comment, but I am annoyed that don't vote section 90 go below the guest colour. We should maintain a balance of $570. We are not.
So, through the chair, with respect, we were advised at the time that because of the projected funds coming into that fund, that we will not be in breach of the requirements of the fund.
310,000 a year.
Yeah, well, whatever it is, but the advice we were given is that we will not be in breach of that. So we shouldn't be sitting here thinking we're going to be in breach of it.
I didn't say that. This community board set a rule to they maintain a balance of $570.
Correct.
They broke that rule by voting 6 million.
So
That's what I was worried about.
So, no, the rule has not been broken because the fund is not fallen down below 500,000.
Oh. Okay, so we'll move on.
Okay.
It'll be break now for lunch. How much more have you got, Mr. Bowden? That's it?
That's up to you.
So any more questions? You've got the other one, still got other CAPEX one over the phone.
Yeah, there's nothing from me.
Nothing else.
Nothing.
No.
Oh, how long have you got? Don't you talk about something separate first of all, are you?
No, what's that?
So we're now talking
While
about
Rose is moving up there, through the chair, can I just ask a question? So
Sorry, to go.
can some of the furniture for the Thames library come from a grant from the National Library? We get 40,000 or something spread across the 3 libraries? Okay, that's okay. It's just, it's looking very good there.
I could find out.
Yeah.
Libraries on a bit.
In library furniture.
Yes.
Right, Joe.
Thanks.
So today we have a few more updates on other projects and initiatives. So the Thames Original Aquatic Facilities Project and the Thames Partnership Project. The actions completed in the period are summarised. The Thames and surrounds spatial plan. Taipei Park skate park, which has been removed. The installation of the 2 sculptures on the Hauraki Rail Trail and the shoreline management plan. We also have an update on the World War I Monument Disability Access Project. Are there any questions today?
I read here that they're going to sow seed when decent rainfall is.
If you get a bit of rain, eh, Peter?
Yeah.
Is it not raining at Taipei Park or?
Is it the grass down?
When this was submitted.
Yeah.
It's the wrong sort of rain.
Is that what it means? Okay, appropriate rain, right.
Any further questions of your manager?
Not from me.
So we get a move that receive the Thames Community Board CAPEX work program 2023 and other information updates. Coordinated commission.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Rebel, second by Councillor Rodney. Any further discussion? There's been none. I put the motion all over the phone. Please say aye.
Aye.
And carried. So action schedule, we'll just put through. Is there anything on the action schedule anybody wants to comment about? Otherwise, we'll just move the motion. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 in progress. No, the propose to put the motion. Test committee board received the action schedule report dated 9th of March 2023. I will move it, please. Sorry, did you want to ask a question?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Under the request for a report to be presented to the board regarding Create the Vibe, and that's saying present a report in accordance with the community board's June resolution. But that resolution was saying it was going to be presented in June 2023, but it's not going to be. Should that have been noted in that summary?
There'll be a delay.
I mean, I don't necessarily know that we want to discuss that delay now, but in that action schedule, it should be, sorry, work schedule,
Yeah.
action schedule, it should be noted.
Sorry, through the chair for the next meeting, this is at the time of this action schedule.
Sorry.
So we've got a briefing after lunch.
Right.
So all in favour, say aye.
Right.
Moved by Councillor Rebel, second by Councillor Watling, because he had his hand up, if we really don't get questions, they've got a double dose there.
That's what I said. Oddly.
No one goes to pick it up. Don't go pick it up. Oh, hell, what next? Get the report, Chairman's report. Note on the Chairman's report, we have other additional reports attached to it. This is the only clean way we seem to be able to get around having members' reports, so read between the lines. Not, did you say you want to put that one? No. Okay, I'm not going to read out my report because the deputy chair decided that it wasn't appropriate for me to read my own report because I got too long.
Did you read the report?
Okay, well,
Like adjournment.
we have a 5-minute adjournment while you read it. I'll take it 5 minutes. We're going, I'm going to order it. 5-minute adjournment.
Sorry.
Very good.
Right. I just want to emphasise the Pollen Street thing every 2 weeks. We must maintain that and keep that momentum going. We get a lot of good feedback. Mrs. McKenzie must go on there someday, one day,
No,
because you were on.
I'm on kids duties. I was in Coromandel on Saturday. Te Aroha.
Yeah, no. Pollen Street.
Is this, are we back on?
Yeah, we are. We're back on. Yeah. Yeah. Councillor Rebel.
Just where are we at with the toilets down at Rhodes Park?
Right.
Does anybody know?
Yeah.
I do.
I'm not too sure. Are you asking that question from my board report?
Yeah, well, it's just mentioned here, somewhere in there.
Yeah, my one.
Yeah. And Rhodes Park user group regarding sit-down toilets at the grandstand.
Yeah.
So
That's regarding using it.
I've been advised that the members don't.
You can answer that question this time. Anybody else?
Oh,
You can ask a question about matters on your.
yeah. I can give you an update by deputy chair.
Through you.
Right.
The chair for the deputy.
This is Deputy Chair Johnson. This is amazing. He took that task on and really got it sorted out in a very short period of time. The board should be grateful, but I certainly was grateful because of tending to roll on from August of last year. And now we've actually got it sorted. Okay, board member.
Oh, it's just, building consent's been issued and I think work started yesterday.
Concrete truck there today. Yeah.
Concrete truck there today, so. Before. It's all
Speak up because one cross outside that here.
Oh, it's all been sorted, it's all good.
Cool, so it's underway.
It's underway, it's being built.
Very good.
Well done.
No, that was a pretty big step forward. Really was. Seriously, thank you. Rob, for that. Okay, any other items that may be of interest to you?
So, and just following up on your before about how we can put what members have been up to in here. Well, and I noticed, I'm not mentioned there.
Or me.
No, you've got the
Took it on
supply.
Monday.
So, okay, so we just let.
Clarification now
Yep.
about this, right? So I was hoping to have a chairman's report and members' reports, and members' reports apparently no longer exist. Okay, so just to clarify, it's only because we've been meeting twice this week, that's governance and President and Rob and I, that we've worked out the only way we're going to get your reports back on here is if you go and attend meetings or do something on behalf of the community board, then you send it to Jenna, or send it to Jenna and copy to me, and Jenna will sanitize it.
Funny words.
So,
So that, would that also involve, if as councillors, we wanted to bring something to attention, the board's attention that had been discussed at a council meeting, or are we taking that too far?
no, I would expect that if there's something which you are uncomfortable with or unhappy about for Thames Community District Council, I think I should make the board aware of that.
Or happy about?
Or happy, well, you have happy occasions at council, sorry. So then, yeah, by all means, bring those things forward, but I put them in a report to Elizabeth Street.
Yep.
And then I'll get a copy of that, please, and I'll pop up here. So the whole idea is when people go out and do things, that you've got all those portfolios, when you go and carry out your portfolio, idea is to keep your straight now, you report back about your portfolio, and that's why you see never surrender boxing or things like that. And, yeah, and Council Rebel has reported back. If you wonder how much they sanitized, that was an A4 page.
And put it aside, it's probably not sanitized, it's just been corrected and edited. The other thing is, yeah, the other thing is, it's, bullet point format.
Oh, yeah.
It's bullet points, not a great big long square.
Yeah, you don't have to like it.
And I mean, I presume it might be helpful, Jim, if you actually got them rather than the day before as well.
Correct.
If we did them during the month might be helpful, or, you know,
You tell us how far overhead.
well,
Yeah.
obviously, at the end of the 6-week period.
Off.
You know,
I think we'll need
maybe.
to set an email out because there are certain guidelines, certain things, even for the chair's report, end up to get 4 weeks out of it.
We do start that process.
Yeah, start the process 4 weeks out, and as the chair's report was given close to Mark. So it's just better to get them, but you can, if you go to a meeting while it's still bearing in mind what we've done, then send it in. And they'll just be all collated, put together. You don't have to wait and write it one big one or go through all your emails and check out where you've been.
Does that work? Yeah,
Yeah, we can certainly,
works for you? Yeah.
doesn't work the next round, we'll.
Good.
Keep improving it as we go.
No, I'm not just scratching.
So I move to receive the chairman's report. Moved by board member Rockwa, seconded by.
Me,
Now you've all been out. Oh, go.
yeah, I'm
There
leaving.
you go. Thank you. I knew you were waiting for that
Oh,
one.
yeah, I was.
Board member McKenzie. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. I want to thank you all very much for patiently getting through today, things like that. This is the 4th meeting next month, so we're getting there, making progress. Thank you very much, and I'll now declare the meeting closed.
Do we have